Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we talk about how to support new teachers through a comprehensive instructional coaching program. We'll start off by introducing ourselves. So we are the instructional coaches from Hampden Charter School of Science. My name is Nicole Guenette. My colleague here, Nicole Godard, will be helping with this presentation. We're instructional coaches for the Hampden Charter School of Science. A little bit about our school. We're a tuition-free college prep education school founded in 2009. Our mission is to provide college preparatory education to the youth of every race and ethnic group in Western Massachusetts in a safe, academically challenging, and caring educational environment. We have 4 core values at our school: respect, responsibility, resilience, and excellence. So our agenda for today, we're going to start out by going over our coaching philosophy. What is it that we believe is important and critical to a successful instructional coaching program? We'll talk about how you can select teachers for coaching at your school. We'll also talk about the coaching cycles that we use while we are working with these teachers. And we'll also have some tips and tricks that we found useful along the way. At the end, there'll be a session for questions and answers if you do have any questions you'd like to bring to our attention.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Nicole. So we're going to talk a little bit about our coaching philosophy, what we believe about good coaching, and the sort of pedagogy that undergirds our system at HCSS. Mike and I have spent some time doing some reading and thinking about instructional coaching. We really like the work of Jim Knight, who says that a good coach can see something special in you that you didn't know was there and help you make that something special become a living part of you. That is the kind of coach we have in mind when we use the term instructional coach. I think a big part of our philosophy is seeing the skill that teachers have, the good in teachers, and finding ways to foster that and make that more evident in their teaching. To begin, we want to clarify some misconceptions that some people have about instructional coaching. Sometimes it can be a little bit scary to be have another person in your classroom, another person looking at your lessons, giving you advice about teaching. Teaching is such difficult work. It can be very emotional work, and instructional coaches can be a little bit scary. And sometimes people believe that maybe only bad teachers, whatever that means, needs an instructional coach. Or if your test scores are bad, you get an instructional coach. Or we're here to boss you around in your classroom, come in and say, oh, you're doing it all wrong. Here's how you should do it instead. But at HCSS, we want to make sure that we are communicating that it is quite the opposite. Everyone can benefit from an instructional coach. We are a tool to support teachers in the challenging work of teaching. It's the most difficult job in the world, and it really does take a village to do this work well, and we are just one part of that. So we're here to offer suggestions, we're here to offer best practices, resources, and to have a conversation, but not make demands of someone in their classroom. We don't want anyone to feel like we're a punishment on their career here. We're here as a stepping stone into the more advanced levels of teaching. We believe that our teachers are professionals, highly educated, highly qualified, highly trained individuals who can do their work well if given the right supports. We believe our teachers are capable, right? The most important part is to not go into this with a deficit mindset of these are teachers that need to be fixed. No, we don't believe that. We wouldn't have hired them if we had believed that, right? We believe our teachers are capable professionals that can be successful. And if we just give them the right supports and make sure that we're there for them, that can be true.
Exactly. And there's many ways that we can choose teachers for coaching. They're not always someone that is brought to our attention and told, you have to work with them, they're a bad teacher, right? Anybody can benefit from an instructional coach. So the number one thing is new teachers. They're new to teaching, whether or not they went through an educational training program and they had a practicum. Many teachers kind of fall into the field later on and they've never had training. So we want them to succeed. They are the perfect candidate for instructional coaching. Or teachers who have experience, but they're struggling with something like classroom management or rigor in the classroom. But also, we can choose teachers that are veteran teachers that just want to improve in some way. Maybe they are looking to take their teaching to the next level. They're looking for some new strategies. They want some ideas to implement in their classroom, and they'd like some feedback on that. So they might invite us to come in and give them feedback and different ideas. But most importantly, it's for any teacher who wants an instructional coach. If anyone comes to us and says, I would like some help, we do everything we can to make that happen. Those are the prime teachers who are willing and able to improve and showing that they want to by coming to us and asking for that help. We try to make that happen as best as we can. So the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education requires that all Massachusetts educators go through an induction mentorship program in order to receive their licensure. That's something that we do implement, and it actually works very well with instructional coaching. We're constantly meeting with teachers, going over new ideas, giving them feedback on it. 50 hours is met in no time at all. Even experienced teachers who come to us and ask for help, we can very easily exceed that number. These instructional coaching cycles that we'll be talking about shortly are great opportunities to provide all the strategic mentoring and help that teachers need in order to succeed. So how do we start off our instructional coaching program? We've selected our teachers already. We'd like to start off with a pre-meeting survey. So we send it out to the teachers. We want to just figure out something about the teachers. We want to develop our expectations. What is it that they're expecting of us? What is it that we are expecting of them? We want to understand our teachers' attitude towards coaching. Sometimes they love the idea. They want the help. They want the support. And sometimes they kind of see us as a negative thing, and they just are very resistant to the support. We also want to find out what kind of coaching experiences they've had in the past. Were they successful? What did they like about them? We always like to start out our first meeting with just kind of getting to know you. I like to do cookies with coach, maybe cupcakes with coach. I bring cookies to the meeting, and I say, you bring your favorite drink. They show up with their cookies, and we just talk. What do you want to get out of this program? What topics do you need the most support with in your class? Like to figure out what they perceive as being their troubled areas, and kind of work with that. We want to establish coaching goals. We want to make sure that we are on the same page about what we're looking for when we're in the room doing observations of them. And then we like to schedule our first observation. It shouldn't be unannounced. We're there to support the teachers. We don't want to feel like we're just jumping out there and trying to surprise them and catch them doing something. No, we're there to support them as best we can and kind of taking away that stress, that pressure, and knowing exactly when we're going to be there. They can put their best foot forward, and that's what we want to see in the end. So we schedule those observations right from the start. So again, our first observation was scheduled ahead of time. We don't want to make it a surprise. While you're there in the classroom, it's good to write a full lesson transcript. We want to know as much stuff as we can about what's happening in that classroom. What are the students doing? What is the teacher doing? What are things that they're saying? If you can write down quotes. These are great ways to reflect back on the observation when you're meeting with the teacher afterwards. The idea is that you want to just identify the strengths and the areas of improvement for the teacher. We want to establish goals with them, and we want to open these lines of communications. So we're going to write down everything that's positive and try to look for the overarching ideas that are, you think the teacher could use some support in, and bring those ready to go for your next meeting. So then you're going to have a post-observation meeting. This should be happening relatively quickly after the first observation. You don't want to wait too much time. If the schedule allows for it, do it the same day, but definitely within a day or two if you can. And just lead with the strengths of the lesson. What did you find positive about there? Cite examples. Praise their effective moves in class. Even if there were challenges, right? Students were being, showing a lot of behaviors that were making it difficult for the teacher. If they made some good moves in there, praise them. Make sure they know that they're making the right moves there. And then you want to identify one or two overarching areas of growth. What is it that you would like to focus on? You don't want to nitpick. Now's the time to create the goals and beginning the coaching cycle. If you say, here's the 25 things that you need to improve on, it's not going to be effective. We want to find one or two big ideas that we can focus on and lead with that moving forward into your first coaching cycle.
So once you've done these first two, this first meeting, you've gotten to know your coaching teacher, you've gotten to know their schedule and what their needs are and what they're hoping to get out of this relationship, we begin what we think of as a coaching cycle, and really getting into their classrooms, getting a sense of who they are as educators and as professionals and figuring out a path forward. And it involves a lot of these steps that Mike just alluded to, right? We have this cycle of meetings that we kind of repeat over the course of the year. And these things will change, right? You're going to see them over the course of a whole year of their teaching. You're going to see lots of changes, lots of growth, lots of different issues pop up, and that's why we do this in this cycle, to really just keep the conversation moving forward and stay connected to the teacher. So we're constantly establishing new goals or revising those goals, observing, taking really detailed notes, really giving them a good sort of outside third perspective of their classroom, and then meeting them again in the same week. Unpacking what happened in the classroom, hearing their thoughts, getting to know their perspective of the lesson. The teachers will often give us context that we didn't have before as we observed something, and we'll be able to move forward together. So to go in a little bit more in depth, we're really starting with a conversation. We want teachers to be a part of this. What measurable growth are we both looking to achieve? And that maybe it looks like test scores, that maybe it looks like classroom management, student relationship building, student engagement, right? You start small. I want my students to be able to listen to me and stay engaged for good 10 minutes of direct instruction. Super small, building block type things. And we're going to build from there into those larger global goals that maybe we're hoping for. And then our job as the instructional coach is to provide specific actionable strategies, right? Mr. Guenette is a math born and bred educator. I'm an ELA born and bred educator. We come with different skills and different experience, but we both know what our school culture is looking for. We both know what good instruction looks like. And as our content knowledge becomes necessary, we will supplement as well. But we're looking to bring in actionable teaching strategies into the classroom for the teacher to implement. And we'll do these observations. Often there are full periods. We want to see beginning to end, what does this look like as we take it in, or we'll be invited for a specific activity. We want to just see how the opening of class routine looks, or the closure routine of class looks, whichever is most appropriate to the teacher's needs. And like Mike said, we're going to very carefully record this transcript, as much detail as we can, present back to the teachers for their perspective of what happened, from what it looked like to be an audience member of their class. And then we're going to have that reflection meeting. We want to emphasize that this work is challenging. And so any space there is for praise, any space there is to see where teachers are glowing and are doing that work well, we want to make sure we emphasize that, because it is hard to have someone come into your classroom and give you the rundown of what happened. So we try to stay positive and think about this in a very distinct growth mindset. Where are we going next? As we identify areas for improvement. And then the cycle, continues. So based on what we just saw, what strategies worked, right? It's very possible that your instructional coach will give you a suggestion where, like, try this, doesn't work for this group of kids. Not every group of kids is the same. The kids are different. COVID, a million different reasons why certain tried and true tactics might not work. We'll try something new. That's okay. In the background, your instructional coach is reading books, doing research, trying new things, observing other teachers. We're all learning and growing together to bring new strategies to our teachers. And then we'll try a new strategy as appropriate. And then we'll come back. All right, we plan that lesson. We're like, all right, here's what I want to see, or here's what we want to try to do together. Here's the growth we're looking for. Instead of this, try that. We're going to come back, observe again, maybe with a different group of kids, maybe at a different time of day. We know that during the school day, block one might be wildly different than the last block of the day. So we're trying to get as much data as possible to see how those instructional strategies are working. And we'll focus our feedback on those areas of growth that we discussed. Again, we're not looking to just sort of scattershot everything we notice in the lesson that could get fixed. We need to mention. That's not helpful for anyone. That's overwhelming for a teacher. We're just thinking about engagement, right? We know that these students struggle to stay really engaged for direct instruction. So that's where most of our feedback is coming from. We're going to focus our feedback on that. And then we meet again. And again and again and again, that throughout that cycle, and the goalposts move, right? What we're looking for is changing. Maybe all right, we got them to listen for 10 minutes of, direct instruction, but they really struggle with independent work. So now what's next? And over the course of the year, those goals that we're looking for change, they get more developed, they get more challenging. But we're there every step of the way, refining those goals, talking about it, hearing the teacher's perspective, and moving forward to troubleshoot the problems that are arising throughout the year and celebrate the growths and, movements forward that we were able to make.
These coaching cycles are very effective. They can range anywhere from 1 week. You go through one iteration of the cycle, they're ready to go. They can implement those things. And I found great success in starting small. Find something concrete that you know the teachers can do that will immediately show some kind of success in the classroom, and use that as your first coaching cycle. That will help to boost their how successful they are moving forward, because they're going to know that the program is successful. They're going to see immediate results. Maybe some of those bigger ideas will be touched upon later on. Some other tips and tricks that we found as instructional coaches. Most importantly, respect your teacher's time. Let them know that their time is precious. Oftentimes, teachers feel overwhelmed. They have a lot of grading, a lot of planning to do. You coming in and meeting with them to take up some of that time can be a negative thing. Let them know that it is precious. I like to meet them at their room at the scheduled time. Come prepared with an agenda, with a clear focus. Don't show up and then try to figure out what you're going to talk about. Be ready to go. Showing up at their room shows them that you're willing to go out there and meet them, rather than requiring them to come to your office. Sometimes rooms aren't available and you need to do that, but I tried my best to make them realize that I'm doing that. I try to keep one meeting per week. If the teacher comes to you and requests more meetings, that's fine. They want it, but usually they don't. They're helpful. They might feel like these meetings are really helpful. They just don't have a lot of time. So try to keep them once a week if you can. And then also one observation per week. There might be times where you have to go in more, or the teacher wants you to see, several iterations of the same class, or something like that. But one per week is usually enough. Completing one iteration of the coaching cycle within a week is a good amount of time for that. Okay, so focus areas. There might be lots of areas that a teacher struggles with. It could be lesson planning, it could be classroom management, but telling a teacher, your classroom management is bad, right? That's a huge thing. What specifically are they struggling with? And be careful when you're defining these focus areas. Saying something like, you need more routines, is not that effective. The teacher might know they need more routines, they just might not know how to implement those routines. So maybe ask a question like, what do you want students to do when they first come into the room? Right? Get the ball rolling on that thought process. What is it they want to see? What is it they want to have happen? And then work with them on how to make those things happen, right? Instead of saying better transitions, give them something actionable. Consider embedding a timer into your presentation. Establish those work times. It keeps the flow of the class consistent, and it allows those transitions to work that much smoother. Again, instead of more student engagement, what kind of connections to real life or previous learning do your students have from their previous lessons? What kind of contextual learning is there? Those things lead to student engagement, but it's something they can very easily start using in their classroom. Most importantly, though, coaching is a conversation. It's not a lecture. You want to make sure that teachers know that you are talking back and forth. You're coming up with ideas. You might come up with an idea and the teacher says, I don't know, I'm not comfortable doing that. You might need to step in and model it for them in front of the classroom, right? Or maybe give another idea that they are comfortable with. In the end, you want them to try new things, but you want to make sure they're ready to implement those in the classroom. So one of the most important things is that your feedback should be non-evaluative. We've played the job of having a coaching position and an evaluative position. And no matter how hard you try, teachers will see you as the evaluator. They don't see you as someone friendly who's there and wants them to succeed. They see you as someone who's giving them a grade, right? As an instructional coach, you want to make sure that they know that is not the case. You should have no connection to the teacher evaluation whatsoever, and make sure they know that. Let them know that you care about them. You're not there to judge them. You're here to provide ideas, and your end goal is to see them succeed. That is your job, to help them succeed. If they need to cancel an observation or a meeting, that's fine. I let them know that their time is valuable. If there's a lot of testing or something's coming up, they have a lot of grading, they're backed up, and they need that time, that's fine. I will reschedule it for the next week if need be. I have had to do that. Most of the time, they're willing and able to meet on time that we schedule, especially if you're scheduling those in advance. And lastly, make sure that they know you believe in their success. Growth mindset is very important here. You want them to know that they can succeed and that they will improve. And you're here to help make that happen. So here's some resources that we found successful. Simply Instructional Coaching by Nicole Turner has a lot of very good ideas that can be implemented very, very quickly as an instructional coach. Jim Knight from the Instructional Coaching Group runs PDs in person in Kansas or virtually, and he has a whole slew of books that he wrote to utilize. Here's some ideas here, but there's many out there. I've also joined a Facebook group. Lots of people share ideas, ask questions. There's huge lines of communication there in the world, and you can learn a lot.
All right, thank you everyone for coming to tonight's webinar. We really appreciate your interest in instructional coaching and being so committed to this work of developing new educators into our field and sustaining the educators that are here. At HCSS, we're very grateful for the teachers we have and are very honored to do this work. We will stop the recording now and field questions from the group for the rest of the time. Thank you.